So, I literally just got back from my uncle's funeral, and yeah, like, it's the very first funeral I've ever been to, and it's also the very first time I've seen a human body in person. So basically we got to the chapel, and then I met up with a lot of my cousins, my other uncles and aunties, even my sister was there. And yeah, we got there, we went into the chapel to see my uncle one last time, and yeah, like for the whole day I basically just stuck beside my mum because I know she needs the emotional support, and you know, it's to support me as well. But yeah, so we got there. As soon as we saw my uncle, like, my mom just started crying. I mean, yeah, I mean, my uncle definitely looked a bit different than the last time I saw him, so yeah, it's really hard to describe the feelings and emotions when I was in there. It's hard to put into words. Like, it feels, obviously it feels sad, you feel devastated, but at the same time it feels unreal. Like, I don't know, like it's just a really weird, undescribable atmosphere. But yeah, my cousins were crying, my mum and auntie were crying. Unfortunately, I couldn't really cry. Like, I've mentioned many times on this channel that I just struggle to shed tears. But like, there were quite a few of us in that little chapel, and I stood near, I was actually the closest to the doorway, so I couldn't actually get like a proper good look at my uncle. I could mainly just see like the top of his head, but even then, just from that alone, I could tell he looked quite a bit different. But yeah, there was just so many tears from my cousins, uncles and aunties, and yeah, after seeing my uncle, I went to the garage to basically look at the car that he was going to be riding in, and that's where I saw all the flowers and messages. And then after that, we actually went to the actual the funeral service. And then when we got there, my uncle, like, he was already inside the casket at this time. Like, the casket was sealed, I mean. So we saw the people take his casket into the church. So we followed through, and then we sat down. I think the first thing that really hit me was you know, when you see those portraits of the person who's passed on, and you see it kind of printed on the wall to show who we're celebrating. I think when we got to the actual church and I saw my uncle on one of those portraits, that kind of hit hard for me, because it was oh man, it just made it feel, it just kind of made the whole thing official, I guess you could say. Not that seeing him in the casket wasn't official already, or even just hearing it, but I think just that portrait, it was kind of it really sealed it. I don't know if that makes sense. It really brought home that this is it, this is the moment now. But yeah, we went in, we sat down, and in the middle was where the casket was, and I believe it was actually on top of the actual cremation device, and then beside it, on each side, were two screens showing. When we walked in, it was just showing a golf course. But we sat down. His children, my uncle's children, so my cousins, they spoke their eulogies, and just hearing their eulogies, what their dad meant to them, how their dad always livened up the place, was always kind of the center of the party or family gatherings. It was him that organized a lot of parties as well and gatherings, and just what he meant to them and all of us as well. It was pretty incredible hearing that, but at the same time, it really made you feel sad as well, because it's they're not, his children and all of us aren't going to we're not going to hear our uncle or their dad or see him again, apart from photographs and memories to look back on. We're just not gonna have any new memories from him now. And yeah, his children's gave their eulogies, and then my other uncle gave his eulogy as well. And then after that, we had a session of it was basically summarizing my uncle's life in photographs on the screens. So we saw that, and yeah, a lot of pictures were from his childhood, various stages of his life. Some photographs I even recognized and were even featured in them. And then yeah, it brought a lot of memories and emotion out. And after that, it started playing his favorite song, and then it kind of came to be the hardest part, I feel anyway, was once all the photographs were looked through, all the eulogies were done, all that was left to do was to say goodbye to my uncle. And it's like, inside the church there's 2 rows of seats. Me and my mum sat on the right side, and then the people on the left side had to get up and say goodbye first. And I think for me that was like the hardest moment for me, because it was like I saw his children get up, and it's like you can obviously like pray or touch the casket even, and then that's like your final goodbye. And then just seeing his children touch their dad's casket and then say goodbye, and I still remember their expressions now as they walked past me. It was just so much emotion, tears, sadness, devastation. And then came his wife, and similar expression. And then my other uncles, again, pretty much in tears. My other aunties. And then as I'm watching this, like, my heart just starts to sink deeper and deeper. And then my mum was beside me the whole time, and I was pretty much just like hugging her the whole way, because as she watched everyone say goodbye, she was just in tears. And then it came up to our part, and then the host said, okay, everyone on this side stand up. So I stood up, and that was like another moment for me, because it was like, this is it. This is the final thing now. So I started slowly walking towards the casket, and I could feel my chest just sinking deeper and deeper. It literally felt like, not literally I suppose, but it really felt like my heart was in my stomach. It just sunk that low. It was just under a lot of weight and pressure. And having my mum crying beside me, like, you know, that was emotional as well. And then it came to us, we first bowed our heads, and then we approached the casket. And then, yeah, me and my mum just placed our hands on the casket, and yeah, I still like remember I was reading his name on the casket, and it was saying like the year he was born until the year he passed, and then above it was his portrait, and I was like, oh, my heart just felt so tight, so heavy. It almost felt painful to breathe. But like, even after all this and up to this point, I just still couldn't cry. And I know it doesn't mean that I'm heartless or don't care, because I know, like, you know, some people just deal with these kind of things differently. And in my case, you know, it might also be the medication I'm on. But just because I couldn't cry doesn't mean I couldn't feel the pain, especially in my chest. It just sunk so deep that it was just hard to breathe. And then as I was touching the casket, my mum left, like, she said her prayers, touched, and then started walking off first. But I found myself just almost in a way refusing to let go. It's like, because once I let go, that's it. That's as close as I'm going to be able to have in contact with him, as in like physical contact. And that's the closest I'll ever be to him again in that moment. And then letting go was really just like solidifying your letting go of your uncle. And I just found that so hard to do. Like, I let go and I immediately just put my hand back on and just couldn't. It was just so hard to let go. But, you know, I managed to finally let go. And I think really it's one of the hardest things I've had to do in my life. And I imagine it's one of the hardest things to do in general in life for everyone, I suppose. But like, yeah, it just meant so much that once you've let go of some, like once you're touching something and then not touching it anymore, it just meant so much this time. And it was like I said, at this point, my heart was just in my stomach at this point. But yeah, once I let go, saw the flowers and the messages again outside, and then took a good look at them and read through them and stuff. And then obviously continued to support my mum. But then, as we were all walking back to our cars, I did find myself stopping and looking back at the church, because that's the last place where I was in the same room with my uncle. So it just made that place mean a lot. And yeah, that was like another moment of like letting go. I guess the best way I can describe it is releasing the casket was letting go physically, and then taking one more look at the church before turning away was like letting go mentally, if that makes sense. But as I got to the car, we then drove into the city to basically have like a meal with all the people that was at the funeral. And on the journey there, I was actually just like, I closed my eyes and I was just thinking to all the memories that I've had with my uncle. And I started thinking back to how much he meant to me, and that and I guess like thinking back then and kind of processing it at my own speed, when I opened my eyes, I did find that my eyes were a bit glossy, and there was like probably like the smallest tear just at the corner. And then I'm just thinking, because I have such difficulty shedding tears, even just that smallest tear that I managed to get, that was already like massive for me. So it's like, yeah. But yeah. So after the meal, we drove back, and now I'm home which is why when I'm recording this, and yeah, it's hard to describe what the experience is like on a funeral. It's hard to put into words, and I'm sure everyone will kind of describe from their experience of what a funeral is like. But yeah, to put it into words, it is almost undescribable. It's like the best way I can describe it is, like I said, obviously it's sad, devastating, but at the same time it's a celebration of that person's life, but it also feels unreal. That's probably the best way I can describe it. But yeah, now that I'm back home and I'm alone in this room, and I'm able to kind of process what I've gone through today, I do find myself just getting like quite depressed, which is, I guess, you know, a natural emotion to feel when you've been to a funeral. But yeah, like I said, the hardest part for me was just seeing all the people, all my cousins, uncles and aunties, and my mum's expressions of tears and stuff as they said goodbye to my uncle. That was like the hardest moment for me. But yeah, my uncle was only 62, and that's really young, you know. That's really young. But yeah, it's just hard to put into words, I guess, of how the whole experience at the funeral is. But yeah, but I really hope wherever my uncle is now, I really hope he can finally rest in peace after his long 6-year battle with a disease. And no matter what, he'll always be a fighter in my eyes. And hearing how many trials and how hard he fought in his last year from his children's eulogy today just confirms to me even more just how much of a fighter he was. But yeah, wherever you are now, Uncle, I really hope you can finally rest in peace after your long battle, because you really deserve it. Right, so I've just literally landed in Hong Kong. So yeah, after 16 hours we're finally here. I will say, as soon as I got off the plane, the scent was familiar, like I just knew it was Hong Kong straight away, so it was quite a nice feeling overall. But man, am I tired. Yeah, so I'm actually at my grandparents' house now. I've not been back here, like the last time I was here was in 2018. And back then, you know, my grandma was still around, but this is the first time I've been to their house since 2018, so it's been about 5, almost 6 years. And this is actually the first time where I visited this house where both my grandparents aren't around. So yeah, it is quite emotional actually. I didn't think too much of it when I was on the way here, but now that I'm here, all the emotions just suddenly hit me. And it was like, oh, this is actually the first time I'm coming to their house where they're both not here. So yeah, it's quite emotional. And throughout the years, my mum has been telling me that this house has been pretty much fallen into disrepair because no one lives here. And this is the first time I'm actually seeing it where it is actually in pretty bad condition. Like there's dust everywhere. As soon as I walked in, I just found it a bit hard to breathe. The floor is all like lots of debris and so much dust. And then there's even feathers just up there, meaning that some birds have somehow found their way in at one time. But yeah, it does kind of hurt seeing this house like this, because I have quite a lot of memories here, and seeing it in this state, as well as both my grandparents not being here, it just makes this place feel really, really empty and kind of heartless in a way, not much personality. But yeah, my mum just called me down to basically say a prayer to my grandparents and my great-grandparents as well. But yeah, it's basically Chinese tradition to kind of visit your parents' house and kind of offer prayer. But yeah, this place is, it's definitely seen better days, this place, but yeah. I am actually quite happy to be back here to kind of, you know, like visit this place again after so long, but at the same time it's like it's emotional as well. So yeah, I have no idea when the next time is when I'll be visiting this place, if I ever do. So in a way, it's like, it's almost like this could be the last time I'll visit this place. Yeah, so it's quite emotional, but yeah, the reason I often visited Hong Kong back in the day is to visit my grandparents, but now that they're not here, it's like, for me anyway, it just feels kind of pointless to come Hong Kong as often. But I guess we'll see in the future. Yeah, I'm just exploring more of the village of where my grandparents' house is, and I've come across the public park that I have quite a few fond memories of back in the day. Like me, my brothers and my cousins used to come here quite often and play together. It looks different now because it's been refurbished quite a bit, but overall it's still brings back memories. now I'm walking down the path, the main path that I used to take so many times to get to my grandparents' house. And believe it or not, over all these years, it's actually not changed that much. I mean, you can see how quite in disrepair it's in, and quite you know, it's quite worn down as well. But as far as I remember, it's always looked like that. And then it's almost quite remarkable that it's kind of stayed the same mostly. It's almost like it's frozen in time. But yeah, I used to walk down this path almost every day to go in and out of my grandparents' place, because this is quite a remote village, so you always have to go quite deep into the forest and then finally reach the village. And yeah, this is also where the main village where my mum grew up as well, so obviously it holds a lot of memories for her. And because I came here so many times as a kid and into my adult life, you know, I have a lot of memories here as well. But yeah, this it is pretty remarkable that a lot of it has stayed the same. I mean, obviously there are some changes, like some houses have been restored or rebuilt, but for the most part the layout, the structure and everything, as far as I'm aware, when I grew up, everything's most of it's pretty much still intact. But yeah, walking through these pathways in the village does always get me quite nostalgic and emotional, especially when coming back here the first time since a long time. Like the last time I was here was 2018, so it's been 5-6 years, and I think that's actually the longest that I've not been to Hong Kong, because usually it's like every year, maximum every 3 years, but this is like 6 years, so it's like it's pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, even driving down the main road to get to the village, I did notice quite a lot of changes. But it was still recognizable, and now that I'm in the village again, some changes here and there, but it's still very much the same as I remember it. But yeah, and like I said with my grandparents' place, I don't know how often I'm even gonna visit Hong Kong and come to this place, so in a way this is going to be like the last time in probably a long time I'll visit this place. But yeah, it's definitely emotional, and because most of it has kind of stayed intact, it almost feels like I've stepped into a time capsule. Like this whole place is kind of frozen in time since when I was a kid. But yeah, it's quite a very heartwarming but also really unreal sort of feeling. But yeah, it's also very quiet as well, which has kind of always been the case. But yeah, it's just, it seems to get quieter and quieter each time I visit. But yeah, Now this definitely brings back memories. So this is basically the main well that this village uses, and the water actually comes from all those really big mountains that you can see. And I have to tell you, the water itself is so nice to drink. Like, it has this really refreshing, clear, cool, but most of all, very sweet taste. It's so nice, like it's so pure and clean that it's just, whenever I come to Hong Kong and visit the village, I always look forward to drinking the water because it's just so nice. It beats the water in the UK by a large margin, but yeah, it's just so nice. And my mum used to tell me that my grandparents and her as a kid used to like refill water from there and stuff to take back to the house. And it is cool because this village is in a remote place. It's surrounded by a lot of large mountains. It's kind of covered up by the houses now, but because it's surrounded by large mountains, it's able to get such clear water. And you can even see where the well was. It kind of flows across and kind of all the way through the village. But the well that I just showed you is the main place that the locals used to gather the water. Yeah, I can't say it enough, but that water is so nice. Yeah, it definitely brings a lot of emotions and memories. Yeah, I didn't think much of it on the way here, but I just didn't realize how emotional I get coming to here this time. I guess it just means that much more because it's the first time in 6 years since I've been here, and also it's the first time coming here where both my grandparents aren't here. So I guess it just kind of makes it mean that much more. And because I'm mentioning that I don't know when the next time is that I'll be here, I guess that adds to the feeling as well. But yeah, you can see how the water still continues, and it actually wraps around to the front of my grandparents' house as well. So it's very cool, has a very cool water system. And again, I can't stress this enough, but that water is so nice. Yeah. So I guess that's pretty much it for this week, so hopefully I'll see you next Saturday. That's it for this video. My name is Hoiman, and please consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. And remember, always look forward, keep hope alive, and remember, you're somebody.